angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology, conspiracy, discovery, special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of Skywatch TV.
Believe it or not, there's a connection between the Freemasons, the ancient Mayans, and the ancient Egyptian god Osiris, and they all point to the year 2016. Welcome to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert in studio with my best friend and wife, Sharon K. Gilbert.
Hi, honey.
And the author of a book that is very timely and very conveniently has the name of the year in the name, Zenith 2016, Skywatch TV CEO, Tom Horn. Hi, Tom. You did some really remarkable research, some dots connected here that were eye-popping. You've done it in 2012 and again in 2016. What were the Mayans seeing, and what are some of the other, well, even Christian pastors and preachers, famous ones, who pointed to this period of time that we're in right now as being especially significant?
Yeah, you know, this was probably one of the most incredible periods of study for me and research. And a lot of people that have read Zenith 2016, you know, they say that's my magnum opus. It's the best thing I ever did. And it's probably because it was actually the last time I had an entire year that I could dedicate to just doing research and writing. So it was timely. But what had happened was, you know, as you know, everybody in 2005, 6, 7, 8, they were all saying that the Maya had said that the world was going to end in the year 2012, right? And so I, at that time, had just kind of a mild curiosity about it, but I wanted to find out, what did the Maya really say? Is this all just a bunch of New Agers? They're making up stuff, or they're kind of, you know, misquoting the Maya, or what was going on? And so I wound up getting the research information from an academic by the name of Richard Luxton. And he was the guy that befriended the modern Maya and got permission from them after he gained their trust to translate a book called the Book of the Kumayel, or the Council Book of the Yucatecan Maya, that had been written down over 500 years ago, and he translated it into English. And so his was the work that I was following, and was learning that no, the Maya never said the world was going to end in the year 2012. What they said was more interesting to me because it started sounding very much like the prophecy off the Great Seal of the United States, the Novus Ordo Seclorum.
Yeah.
What they were saying was, at the end of the long count in December 21st, 2012, essentially the cosmos was going to roll over into a final age of mankind, a final epoch that would witness some stuff that sounded like it was taken right out of the book of Revelation. Two great men would appear on the earth, sounded like the false prophet and the Antichrist. And then the judgment of God with famine and pestilence, and sounding like the Great Tribulation,
very much so,
right?
yeah.
So I started really getting into it, but I literally sat up in bed one night after I had read where Richard Luxton wrote this. He said, the dates that accompany the illustrations, now he's talking about the jaguar shaman here, the Chilambalam, and some stuff that he had written, stuff that he had said, and provided even diagrams. But he was a convert to Christianity as a result of the Spanish missionaries, the jaguar shaman. So he was mixing his Mayan beliefs with what he was finding in the apocryphal books of the Bible, right? And he was prophesying about the end. And what Luxton said was, he focused on the final 13 Katuns, which is a period of 19.7 years. I don't want to get us buried here in details, right? But he said that final 13-stepped countdown began in what he called the colonial count, 1776.
Whoa!
Which would be followed by 13 steps and then the return of their God. And those 13 steps were 19.7 years. So I'm laying there in bed one night, I'm saying, boy, these prophecies of the Chilambalam sure remind me of the Sibyl. And wait a minute, 1776, that's the base of the uncapped pyramid on the Great Seal,
Yes.
which also is 13 steps. And some of the leading American Freemasons had always said that those 13 steps represented distinct periods of time. And so I got out, my copy of the Great Seal, 1776, started counting the cartoons, 19.7 years, and saw where if you got to the top, right beneath the all-seeing eye would be the year 2012. But I also found out that the Gregorian calendar, our calendar,
Yeah.
the equivalent of the cartoon was 20 years, and that ended in 2016, 3.5 years later. So I literally came out of my bed and said, wait a minute, this can't possibly, if it's a coincidence, it's a doozy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To have 1776, 13 steps over which is hanging the all-seeing eye. And so that kind of launched me in the book Zenith 2016. And what people will find when they get that book and read it, they'll be astonished at how over thousands of years and from all kinds of cultures that had no connection. This was before the internet and iPhones and all
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? No way to communicate. They all were fixating on the year 2012 and 2016. The Maya were fixated on it. The Aztec had their own cosmology about the end time, and they talked about the year 2012. Soon after, they said, Bolan Yakteku, the god of the underworld, who is down there guarding the bones of the giants. They say he holds the key to the bottomless pit. In Mayan cosmology, they say he's going to rise up to the surface of the earth and the giants are going to come with him. And then these 9 support gods are going to descend down from the heavens. So it sounds like great deception, and the pit is opening up from the book of Revelation, and the
9.
giants are coming up out of the earth.
The Aeneid.
Yes, very much. Yeah.
So, but one thing led to the other. I found that Jonathan Edwards, at the turn of the century, writing letters at the university level saying the Antichrist will appear in the year 2016. We found in the Zohar, because I had sent out this email. When this came to me in a revelation, I got up and got on my computer, right? Emailed every smart person I know. Everybody's smarter than me. I need to ask you a question, right? And it was, do you know of any connection with the Great Seal of the United States and Mayan prophecy? And we can talk a bit more about how I connected those dots in a moment. But J.R. Church, right, who used to lead Prophecy in the News and got cancer, died a few years ago, he emailed me back and he said, Tom, he said, I don't know anything about the Great Seal, but he said, did you know that in the Zohar, the rabbis from 700 years ago pinpointed when the Messiah would appear? And in the Zohar, in the Vieira section of the Zohar, he showed me this. I went and read it and found it. And, it said that in the year 5773, the Messiah will make himself known privately to the rabbis in Israel. 5773 in the Jewish calendar was 2012 to 2013 in the Gregorian calendar. So that was what JR wanted me to know, that they had saw the year 2012 too, right?
Yeah.
Another group of people 700 years ago writing in medieval Aramaic. And this book, of course, the Zohar, is very important to Kabbalistic rabbis, mystical rabbis. And so anyway, I found that. What I've noticed is interesting is the way that it's written in there. It sounds like it is even part of the prophecy of the popes, in that they say that the Messiah will appear in Jerusalem in 2012 to 2013, make himself known to the rabbis in Jerusalem, and sometime after that, he will begin making himself known to the people of the world. Well, you and I know that since then until even just this last week, major rabbis in Israel, several of them, their most respected rabbis, saying that the Messiah is here and his manifestation is imminent, even telling the kids that are going to their, to the rabbi schools not to leave Jerusalem and be traveling. It's that imminent. It's that close to
And
him.
they're pointing to very specific prophecies issued by rabbis from several hundred years ago. The Vilna Gaon is one in particular. The genius of Vilna, which is the capital of Lithuania, said that the Messiah would appear after Russia took Constantinople, which is Istanbul, and the Crimea. Now, of course, Russia captured the Crimea from Ukraine in spring of 2014, and now with the feud going on between Russia and Turkey, the Russians still haven't really paid back Turkey for shooting down that plane in November. So there are some possibilities there that we might see some open conflict, especially as the Turks are agitating for an invasion of Syria where there are Russian soldiers deployed. So that's just one instance where the rabbis today are saying this from 300 years ago says that we should be looking for Messiah's appearance imminently. And there are groups of rabbis who have opened office in Jerusalem specifically to search with computer algorithms the Torah codes, looking through the numerical Hebrew equivalents to find messages, and the years 5775, 5776 keep appearing over and over. And that would be the period of time from September of 2014 through October of this year, 2016.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Well, I just was going to say earlier, you talked about how we were sort of fed the lie that 2012 actually was the end of the world. And of course, we all dismissed it and said, hey, we're still here. Yay, 2013 is here. The fact is, I think the majority of people, not you folks watching this show because you guys know better, the majority of people in the world think that, oh, we dodged a bullet in 2012. We're still here. They're not paying any attention to any of this, but it's right here in the open if we just look.
Right. Well, there are videos from 2008 and 2009 where I was doing shows with Gary Stearman on Prophecy in the News and Sid Roth, and I was saying that's not what the Maya said. They're not saying the earth is going to end in 2012. What they were saying was more interesting, and it sounds very much like they were, they're quoting the Novus Ordo Seclorum, that there is going to come the dawn of a final age of man. Now, here's another thing that's very interesting is when you read the Novus Ordo Seclorum and Anuet Coeptus, these are taken from Virgil's Aeneid and his Eclogue, in which he's actually quoting the Cumae Sibyl, the most powerful Sibyl or Sibylline prophetess who was a prophetess of the god Apollo.
Yes. Apollyon.
What the New Testament would call Apollyon, the very spirit that's going to come about, there he comes, Bolan Yakteku and all the giants, right? From their mythos to ours, because demons also know that this is going to happen. And so they try to capture those stories, misguide people into making it appear as if they're the ones with the revelation. Like the Sibylline prophetess did in the New Testament, where she's following the Apostle Paul around saying, these are men of God, in order to try to stake some kind of claim that she too is a true prophetess
and so Paul
of God.
drove the demon out of her. Yeah.
So he gets frustrated and casts the demon out of her, and then everybody's mad now.
Yeah.
But so now these rabbis, though, they're behaving as if they're either total believers or somebody has made himself known to them, because that's actually how they're talking. They're saying he's here and he's going to manifest himself. Now you've got a pope who also is a believer in prophecy. He not only is a believer in prophecy, he's also started to prophesy, and that's kind of spooky. He's now telling people, get ready, the end is here, you need to prepare yourself. He's saying these things himself.
And he believes 2016 is special too, because he declared this a year of grace.
Yes. And to that end, it was just announced just prior to the recording of this that he's sending out over 1,100 specially handpicked super confessors to hear the confessions of people who have committed what they call reserved sins under Roman Catholic doctrine, sins that normally only the Pope can forgive and offer absolution for. Because apparently they feel that something is happening and they need to expedite the process. They don't have time to go through the special Vatican Council, which was the normal process, going back to the 12th century. Now, we know this is not biblical. And we know that the only sin that is really unforgivable is blaspheming the Holy Spirit. So we're not saying that this is authentic doctrine, but we're trying to understand what they believe. The Pope, the rabbis, these other folks who are looking for these years to try to understand why they believe what they believe and how it will affect how they act. But clearly the Pope is believing that something is happening soon. That they're even delegating one of these super confessors to go to the Arctic Circle and hear the confessions of Eskimo.
Right.
Okay, so this is something unique.
And we're trying to cover so many bases in this one show, but this even goes into the ISIS apocalyptic vision, where they believe that Muhammad showed them, 400 some years ago, or at least a hadith ascribes him prophesying this war that would come at the end of time. But they've made a video that shows them, marching on Rome behind the Colosseum, and they come down into Rome. But they're, in their apocalyptic end time vision, there will be an army called the Army of Rome, maybe something is going to happen. This is what I suspect. Something is going to happen. Maybe ISIS uses a weapon of mass destruction, which then causes a coalition army to come together. But the Pope calls for the rejuvenation of the Christian rules for just war.
Just war.
And if he does do that, as far as both, you know, the world and the Muslims would see this as a battle being fought under the banner of Rome. So it really feels like there are a lot of people that believe that the year 2016, and they have for thousands of years, is very, very significant. Now, we're going to find out. By the way, I'm not saying that in 2016, you know, we're going to enter the Great Tribulation or the Antichrist is going to appear or anything else. What I am saying is when you read that book, you'll find out that dozens of people for thousands of years did say that. And that's really the question of the book. Why?
Well, why were the disciples inspired to ask Jesus himself, what are the signs of the end of the age?
Yeah, what are the signs of the end of the age? And as David Flynn, our old friend that's, you know, in heaven now, talking this over with people smarter than I am, obviously.
But his brother Mark is carrying
But
on
he
that.
said that the, you know, he was talking about the precision of the equinoxes and that sort of thing. You know, David, right?
Oh, gosh.
I can barely quote him well.
Josh
I'm
Peck
thinking
could
like
follow
it.
it.
But he said that the conditions of the stars were exactly the same in the days of Noah as they would be following the year 2012. So that when Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, he was talking about the alignment of the planets and a lot of other really deep things being the same as you know.
If that's new to you, by the way, you have the David Flynn collection.
Yeah, we do have the
it's
David
in
Flynn
store.
collection. They can get it and read greater minds than mine. But the Cherokee Indians, 200 years ago, and you can get these at the academic level. They're called the Chickamauguan Star Constellation Prophecies, or more simply, the Rattlesnake Prophecies. 200 some years ago, they go into a whole apocalyptic frenzy, and they write down how in the year 2012, the end of this era will come. Following that will be a final era of mankind. But they saw the return of what the Aztec would call Quetzalcoatl, what the Maya call Kukulkan, right? This serpent that has the power of air, sometime shortly thereafter, 2012, returning. Well, this is the book of Revelation and this great war between God and the dragon, right?
Yeah.
Well, we need to take a break, but I want to ask when we come back how the Freemasons managed to incorporate this period of time, this step pyramid, and leading to the period of time that we're in right now into the Great Seal. We'll discuss that and tell you how you can get a copy of Zenith 2016 when Skywatch TV continues after this.
From the time she was little, Nita dreamed of horses. Every childhood fantasy rode on the back of a heroic white steed, coming to save the day.
I don't know how long I've had this love in my heart for horses. It's just always been there. And when we were little girls, my sister and I would play all day long. I was always the white horse and she was always the little pink pig.
Let's pretend Lightning and Rosie can fly.
But everything changed in a heartbeat. On December 9th, 1971, a tragic car accident claimed the life of my dad and my best friend and my little sister. And I wondered after that if there was anything left to believe in.
Move aside, let the ambulance through. Please move aside.
As a child of 13, I felt like I had lost practically everything. And I wondered, is this it? I mean, where do I go from here? I could not have imagined back then how God could use horses, of all things, to restore my faith and vision for the future.
Starting April 19th, get your copy of Nita Horn's inspirational new book, No Fences, and learn for the first time her amazing story of loss, survival, determination, and healing. How the vision and love God gave her for these beautiful and majestic animals eventually led to the 150-acre Whispering Ponies Ranch, a general retreat facility, as well as a premier training location that specializes in using and gifting therapeutic animals to benefit the herding. Other care facilities, schools, and ministries across the nation.
When God puts something in your heart, it's there for a lifetime.
On the back of the dollar bill in your wallet is apparently a prophecy that points to the year in which we are living right now. Welcome back to Skywatch TV. We're talking with Tom Horn, the author of Zenith 2016. How did the Freemasons incorporate this into into the Great Seal? What did they know about what the ancient Mayans knew?
Yeah, well, you know, and once again, we started the show out early with me saying I literally sat up in bed one day because I'm reading the Maya saying 1776, 13-step countdown, then the return of their God. Well, that's the symbolism on the reverse side of the Great Seal of the United States, where it's got 1776, 13 steps, and then the all-seeing eye. And I did want to know if that was just an amazing coincidence or if the early Freemasons were influenced by the belief of the Mesoamericans. So I started doing the research, and when people get the book, Zenith 2016, because there's 2 or 3 chapters dedicated to this paper trail, if you will, they'll find out that you know, Manly P. Hall and others said that all of the most esoteric knowledge of the American Freemasons came from the red men out of Mesoamerica. So you start finding out they were heavily influenced, but we found even more evidence than that. There was an Italian painter who was famous by the name of Constantino Brumidi, and he worked for the Vatican and he worked for the churches in Rome doing paintings and stuff. Well, he migrates to the United States in the 1800s. He becomes an American citizen and goes to work for the Jesuits in New York, who were considered at that time to be kind of the real power, right? And certainly Rome's presence and influence in the Americas in those early years. But abruptly in 1854, they send Brumidi to go to Mexico. For what purpose? To make copious notes of the Aztec calendar stone that ends in the year 2012, right? He comes back from that trip. He goes directly to Washington, D.C., where he meets with Quartermaster General Montgomery C. Meigs, who was the guy that was supervising the construction of the dome, the U.S. Capitol dome and the wings of the dome. He's appointed to be, you know, the official government painter. And boy, this could be several shows. He goes inside the U.S. Capitol dome and goes up into the belly of Isis, right? The dome. And he paints the apotheosis of George Washington. George Washington becoming a god. Now, you guys had Mike Heiser on recently talking about the divine council and the 70 angels that were given authority over the nations and then they fell. Well, if you follow that through history, and nobody knows exactly when this happened, but in Gnostic Christianity and in the Rosicrucian and some of the early occult movement, the 70 angels became 72. Nobody knows exactly when or why that happened, but they became 72. Well, in the apotheosis of Washington, right below it are 72 pentagrams for the purpose of controlling these angels that are over the world. It's highly occultic in nature. Right below that is what's called the frieze of American history. Now, if you can still, I think you can still go on a tour of the Capitol Dome. Go inside and stand under the dome. Look at the frieze of American history. And of all of the things that Constantino Brumidi could have painted, right, in the frieze of American history, he paints Montezuma and Cortez meeting each other, and here is the giant Aztec calendar stone that came to its conclusion in the year 2012. But right below that, he paints what's called the sacred fire, which means it relit in December of 2012 to give birth to a final era of mankind. So we were able to find fabulous evidence that the Freemasons were very much aware of the belief system of the Maya and did incorporate it, not just into the Great Seal, the entire city is laid out.
Yes.
As an ancient Egyptian grid with the dome. It's based on the story of Isis and Osiris. But the purpose of those are to serve as a generator to draw the seed of Osiris out of the underworld so that he could be incarnate in the Pharaoh so that Egypt would have divine representation. And we found out that every inauguration of every American president across town at the House of the Temple, the Herodome, the official headquarters of the 33rd degree Freemasons, every time a president's inaugurated, they conduct the raising of Osiris ceremony so that America can have divine representation, but more so that this prophecy can someday be fulfilled and that the leader of America will become Osiris, Apollo, incarnate, what the New Testament would call the arrival of the Antichrist.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we don't make predictions, we don't set dates, but it is important to understand what other people think because, especially when it comes to occultic beliefs, to understand the designs of the enemy. And to that end, to help understand and break the code, Tom Horn's book, Zenith 2016, we're offering it to you for the list price of $19.95. But with that, these two books by Grant Jeffrey at no charge while supplies last, One Nation Under God and Shadow Government. And if supplies
One
run
Nation
out.
Under
One Nation
Attack.
Under Attack.
Big
Excuse me.
difference.
Yeah, that is a big difference. One Nation Under Attack. If we run out of the Grant Jeffrey books, because there is a limited supply of those, we will offer other books of similar value, along with Zenith 2016. Again, $19.95 plus shipping and handling from the Skywatch TV store, skywatchtvstore.com. Tom, fascinating work. It's an honor to be here to get to pick your brain about this stuff on a daily basis.
Well, we're going to find out if everybody was right.
That's exactly right. For Tom Horn and Sharon K. Gilbert, we thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is Skywatch TV. To celebrate the release of Nita Horn's inspiring new book, No Fences, Skywatch TV would like you to tell your story, because after all, even if you don't think so, you actually have a story.
Send in your story, and we are going to choose the 10 best, and they'll be published for Christmas release in an anthology of those stories, along with the book that you buy that is actually only $19.95. Am I right on that?
That's correct.
For free. Tom Horn, crazy guy, he's throwing in a journal which on its own, most of these retail for $20 on their own. So this journal is to help you start writing your story. When you buy the book, not only are you going to be enrolled in this and you can send in your story, but you'll get a plastic pony, you'll get a journal of your own, and the proceeds from the book are going to help fund the studio we're building for Skywatch Women. And Nita Horn is going to be one of our panel members.
The 10 authors who are selected for the anthology, published by Defender Publishing in time for Christmas, will also receive a $500 cash prize.
And that'll go a long way at Christmas time, won't it?
Yes, it will. Even if your story is not one of those selected for the anthology, if you've taken the time to write your story, you've left a legacy for your children and for your grandchildren.
Amen to that.
For complete instructions and details on this opportunity, please log on to skywatchtv.com/nofences.
Angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology. Conspiracy. Discovery. Special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of Skywatch TV. Special investigative report.
Welcome to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is our special investigative report, a series called Genetic Armageddon, how modern science is transforming the world around us and perhaps even what it means to be human. We're timing this to coincide with the release of an important new documentary from Skywatch TV, Inhuman, the next and final phase of man is here. And the topic of our discussion today, we continue to talk about Dead Pets Don't Lie, new book from Joe Artis and Donna Howell. You may be wondering why a Christian television program is focusing a couple of programs on the care and feeding of our pets. And I would just direct you to chapter 2 of the book of Genesis, beginning at verse 26. God created mankind, humanity, in his image, meaning, when you actually nuance the Hebrew, that we are God's moral agents on earth. We are the stewards of his creation here on earth. And proper care and feeding of the animals that he's entrusted to us is part of that calling. Joining us on the panel today, a graduate from Indiana University with a degree with honors in molecular biology, author of Ebola and the Fourth Horseman of the Apocalypse, Sharon K. Gilbert, the co-author of Dead Pets Don't Lie, Joe Artis, and our special guest, an expert in holistic veterinary medicine, her website, littlebigcat.com, Dr. Jean Hovey.
Hi.
Jean, welcome.
Thanks.
The last program really started to make me angry as I began to learn some of the things that you have discovered through your practice and that Joe and Donna have incorporated into Dead Pets Don't Lie, that we are not feeding our animals as well as we think we are because we trust the commercials we see on television, and that our government here in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration, is running interference for us to protect them, to make sure that our pets are being properly fed. We covered a lot of that in the previous program, but I want to build on some things that we discussed toward the end of the program there. For dog owners in particular, but for cat owners as well. Cats are strictly carnivorous. Dogs are more omnivorous. But we're finding products other than animal protein in their foods, and specifically corn products, say for dogs. We know that most of the corn crop grown in the United States is been modified genetically.
Correct.
How is that affecting our animals?
Well, I worry because, you know, the science on genetically modified organisms themselves, their safety, you know, there's some debatable science going on. And, you know, most of the science that says it's fine is funded by the industry
companies
that's
that are
making them. But even if we say, okay, we're not worried about the GMOs, let's say that those are fine. The pesticides, these products were supposed to reduce the need for herbicides. Because,
Right, herbicides,
Right.
Glyphosate in particular.
Glyphosate is
Yeah.
in particular a pesticide, but it also, or an herbicide, but it also goes for pesticides. The use of these products has actually increased the need because resistant weeds, resistant pests have cropped up because nature has a way of dealing with these things. So it's actually caused more toxic chemicals to be dumped on our crops. So now we have the issue, if those crops come in and, you know, it's corn for human consumption, or it's soybeans that are going to go into certain granola bars, say, but if the herbicide residue or the pesticide residue is too high for humans, rejected for human consumption, I was told in person, face to face, by a USDA representative that those products can be used without limit in animal feed and pet food.
Oh, you are
So
kidding.
if they're too poisonous for people, we'll feed them to your dog.
You also mentioned a process that we didn't really cover much in the previous program, and the way some of these ingredients are processed, especially at rendering plants where they are denatured, and that the protein is denatured. How does that affect the protein, and then how does that in turn affect our animals when they consume the feed?
Good question. Proteins are complicated molecules, and they have a particular shape based on what they're supposed to be doing in the body. They all have a job. You know, some of them are structural. Enzymes are all proteins. Enzymes are what makes every chemical reaction in the body run. So if you don't have the correct proteins, you're going to be losing some function in the body. Now, whether that actually shows up as illness or not depends on dose and time and everything, and genetic susceptibility. But heat denatures proteins, and denature just means distort. So it causes the protein to unfold in its characteristic way and turn into something else, kind of a kind of a thing. And those proteins are unnatural. They're processed into pet food. Our pets' bodies take them in, and the cells in the guts and the cells that deal with the transport of nutrients and stuff, they see that and they say, whoa, whoa, what is that? And
It's
when
an
you-
invader. It's a
an invader.
foreign body that needs
Yes.
to be
Now,
neutralized.
even normal proteins can cause this reaction. For example, the number one allergen in dogs and cats is chicken, mostly because chicken's in pretty much everything, and allergies are formed to proteins that we've been chronically exposed to. So your dog could have been eating a chicken-based food for its whole life, and at 3 or 4 years old suddenly develops an allergy to it. Well, that is how allergies work. It's rare to have an allergic reaction the very first time you're exposed to something. Now, there are exceptions to that, of course, and bee stings and things like that. But these abnormal proteins coming through, I believe, are more likely to trigger an immune reaction. We call that a food allergy. Now, it used to be thought that there are two things that happen when an animal the animal's body rejects a food intolerance, which is usually to a non-protein like a dye or some other chemical or texturizing agent or preservative, and usually just switching brands will take care of that. But if it's a true food allergy, the body's going to react every single time it sees that. And it's food allergies you wouldn't expect. Sometimes they cause digestive symptoms, vomiting or diarrhea or constipation, especially in cats. But the most common reaction is a skin rash. So itchy dogs often have an underlying food allergy, and food allergies are more common than previously thought in veterinary medicine. There's some recent science showing that what we thought was mostly food intolerances could be 30 or 40% of dogs are actually food allergic.
Wow.
And I blame a lot of this on the processing.
Well, before we started actually recording, you and I were talking about food allergies, and I was telling you the story about our Labrador who was allergic to chicken. So we switched her to lamb and rice.
Yeah,
and you said, well, she's still getting the chicken.
You did, yes.
Yeah.
There have been 5 studies in the last few years that have examined what is actually in the food, and they've done DNA testing looking for various species of animals that are commonly in the food. Beef, pigs, lamb, chicken, fish, that kind of thing. 5 studies have shown that what's on the label only has about a 60% chance of reflecting what's actually in the food. This is appalling. And when I brought it up to the veterinary nutritionist group I'm a member of, and to AFCO, that sets the standards for pet food, and the FDA, their response was, oh, yeah, it happens. Oh, well. Well, if you have a chicken allergic dog and you're feeding him a food that's venison and quinoa, and you think you're feeding a hypoallergenic food, the chances of chicken being in that are very high.
A lot of us, when we take our pets to the veterinarian, we'll ask the vet for recommendations. What can we do? Our dog isn't doing well. What can you recommend for? You mentioned something else in the last program that I think we need to expand on. You said during your training in school, you received all of 2 hours coursework on
pet nutrition.
Pet nutrition.
Out of 4 years.
Out of 4 years. Is this common?
Yes, and it was taught by a guy from Hill's Science Diet.
Oh!
At that point, we didn't even have a nutritionist on board. I went to Colorado State University, one of the top 3 vet schools in the country. They've gotten better since then because I have ragged on them. And, it's become embarrassing for veterinary schools not to have a nutritionist. But, most of the schools that have a nutritionist, their salary, it's an endowed chair paid for by one of 2 primary companies, Purina and Hills. So the person teaching nutrition gets their paycheck from the pet food industry.
That's like having an environmental sciences professor at the university whose chair is endowed by, say, ExxonMobil.
Right.
Yeah, very much so.
Now, theoretically, if you're in academia, you're an upstanding and broad-minded scientist, and but don't you think subconsciously they have an inkling that if they don't follow the party line, that they're going to end up being replaced?
Well, it's not difficult at all to think that some of this could become political within inside of the company itself.
Oh,
Motives, ultimately basically being refined by the amount of money that
Right.
can be made producing a
or
cheap
grants
product.
that can be,
Right, right.
in academia, as publish or perish, you'd better have funded research, or you're out on your ear. You don't get tenure. You don't, you get replaced by somebody else. Now, a number of vet schools, like I said, do have nutritionists on board now, but they oftentimes are funded by the pet food companies, and their research is certainly largely funded by pet food companies. And when veterinarians get their 2 hours of food is for anorexia, and seafood is for cystitis, and D food is for dermatological issues, and G food is for geriatric. Any questions, which is what I got. 2 hours of this diet, this diet, this diet. See you later, bye.
Well, I know we have to take a break, but can we come back and talk about what we should feed our dogs?
Absolutely. Our special report
cats.
series called Genetic Armageddon continues right after this on Skywatch TV.
Coming exclusively from Skywatch TV for a very limited time starting November 17th, 2015. When you purchase the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie from Skywatch TV, you'll receive the largest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. An unprecedented $300 in free books, audio sets, and DVDs to add to your library or to give away as gifts during this holiday season. Included in this limited time giveaway are never-before offered free audio sets. Over 30 hours of the most sought-after interviews in history with global experts combined on a special 2-disc volume set discussing the unfolding genetic Armageddon now underway and what you need to know to survive the future. Featuring Something Transhumanism This Way Comes, The Coming Replacement Humans, The Days of Noah, The Coming Zombie Apocalypse, Conspiracy Theory, Psychotronic Warfare. Also, for a very limited time, in addition to the never-before offered free best-selling audio sets, if you order before this special offer expires, you'll also receive the multi-part Skywatch TV special investigative report on Inhuman the documentary and Dead Pets Don't Lie, the award-winning book Forbidden Gates, Pandemonium's Engine, the best-selling DVD by dog behavior expert Joe Artis, The Natural Dog Training Method. The breakthrough book for pet enthusiasts everywhere, Do Our Pets Go to Heaven? 2 additional mystery books with a $40 value. And if you're one of the first 3,000 customers to place your order during this limited time offer, you will also receive, absolutely free, the groundbreaking WorldNet daily film, The Last Pope, featuring Tom Horn. Place your order beginning November 17th, 2015. Altogether, the never-before offered free 6 full audio series on a 2-disc volume set plus the 5 free books and 2 additional DVDs total an astounding $300 giveaway to add to your library or to give away as gifts during this holiday season. So it's urgent that beginning November 17th, 2015, you order the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie for only $39.95 to also receive the largest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. But please understand this offer will end without notification and is on a first-come, first-served basis starting November 17th. So be sure to visit skywatchtv.com to follow the countdown to the greatest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. Order the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie for only $39.95 to also receive the largest giveaway in Skywatch TV history. Coming this November.
I'm not sure that the world is ready to receive this.
Tom Horn, Joe Artis, Donna Howell, and the Skywatch investigation team join a host of global experts in the conclusion of a multi-year undercover inquiry that exposes what the U.S. government, the FDA, and monster corporations have been hiding from you.
We're talking about everything from the food that we eat to animals and pet animals to ultimately humans. Literally, what we have been doing with genetically modified crops, what we have and are doing with transgenically made animals, we fully intend to do with the human race. I mean, how many people know right now that the last scientist in Congress, Bill Foster, recently spoke before Congress. He wrote an article for The Hill in which he says that right now the top science departments in our government that dole out taxpayer-funded revenue have already been ordered to literally create the guidelines that are going to be used for genetically modifying the human race.
I think 90% of Americans would be shocked if they learned that their cats and dogs were eating these diseased meats and euthanized pets. Euthanized pets.
During our investigation, we were able to verify that if your pet Fluffy had been euthanized at one of these vet clinics or one of these shelters, it would be recycled into food byproducts, toothpaste, cosmetics, deodorant.
The stench is overwhelming. It's unbelievable.
Coming in November, an unprecedented, official and imposing undercover report that exposes what government agencies and greedy corporations are hiding about a genetic menace that is slowly, quietly, secretly killing and transforming all of creation.
They have made a Faustian deal with the devil. I'm talking about our government. They have sold out the best interest of Americans to greedy monster corporations that are in their back pockets.
Coming this November exclusively from Skywatch TV. Dead Pets Don't Lie. Inhuman the documentary. Survive the Future.
I'm Derek Gilbert. This is a special series on Skywatch TV called Genetic Armageddon, how cutting-edge science is transforming the world around us and perhaps even what it means to be human. This week focusing on how it is affecting our pets, their livelihood, their health. And you had a question that you wanted to pose,
Well,
Sharon.
when I was growing up in the Stone Age, we actually fed our animals food scraps. Whatever we ate at the table, that's what they got. We've long since moved past that as a civilization. What can we do to make our dogs and cats healthier?
Well, one thing, every veterinarian says don't feed table scraps, which means your dog is not a garbage disposal. You don't feed him what's left over that you won't eat. No one said sharing isn't just fine. Sharing, I mean, isn't that what makes the world go round?
Well, that's what our dachshund tells us.
Right. You know, if you're eating a healthy meal, you can share that with your dog. Now, cats, you know, they're a little different, and they need more protein and certain other nutrients that are primarily meat-based, so you don't want to feed them a lot of vegetables or a lot of grains, you know, not because they're not nutritious or they can't digest them, but really what they need is meat. You know, they need protein and fat. They're really keyed to digest protein and fat. So if you want to get away from commercial pet food, and I certainly am in favor of that, you know, I make my cats raw food at home. Homemade diets are great if you're following a balanced recipe that you know is legit, not just anything off the internet or out of a book. Anybody can write and publish a book. Anybody. It doesn't take a genius to do that. And all these recipes for these fun doggy Pop-Tarts or whatever it is, that's not going to be a balanced recipe. It's not going to support them in health. They're fun treats, but don't rely on that unless you know you have a balanced recipe and unless you're willing to do the research to know what you're doing. You don't skip any supplements. You know, it's something that it takes a commitment to do. But there are frozen raw diets or dehydrated raw diets that make it real simple. Add warm water, thaw out the thing, and those are fine. Those are great. Not every pet can handle raw food, so you know, a home cooked diet is fine too. You have to add some extra enzymes and probiotics to make up for what's cooked out of the food.
Now, do you need to sort of switch them over to a different food slowly or just go right?
Well, it depends on the individual animal. You know, I've had animals that, you know, you put down the new food, they eat it for the rest of their life, they're fine, you know. But my cats never get the same meal twice in a row. They would be appalled if they got sort of the same dinner as they got for breakfast. Seriously? I mean, do I eat the same thing every day? Unless it's popcorn.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but you know, we don't eat the same thing every day. It doesn't make sense. A cat that's out hunting a feral cat doesn't say, today I'm going to eat chickadees and I'm never going to eat another finch. Robins, forget it. chickadees.
Well, last
They
night
don't-
you cracked me up because you used the spaghetti-o analogy, and I thought that was genius, and I think that viewers at home might really identify with that. If you would share the spaghetti-o analogy.
Right. So let's say Chef Boyardee puts a lot of vitamins in SpaghettiOs and says it is complete and balanced for every life stage. So when your baby is born, you know, he's, you know, he gets SpaghettiOs milk formula first, and then he gets SpaghettiOs Junior, which is good through middle school. Then you put him on SpaghettiOs Adolescent, and then when he graduates from college, then he goes on SpaghettiOs Adult for the rest of his life. Now, if you're
Until it gets
SpaghettiOs Senior.
Yes.
Yes, yes, that's right.
Yes, for those of us
Don't forget
who are,
SpaghettiOs
you know,
Senior.
the gray hair and the whole thing. But if you went to a pediatrician and he said that to you, don't ever give your kid an apple, it'll unbalance the diet. Carrots, oh my gosh, no. You would run screaming for the hills. You would run. Why do we think it's okay to do that to a pet? Why do we think that's okay? Because the pet food companies have brainwashed you to believe that they have done the research, their diet is complete and balanced for life. Now let's talk about some of these other. Now you can buy food for a indoor cat with a sensitive tummy, or a boxer dog, or you know, they have all these niche products. Senior, mature. There's even one called baby cat. Seriously? There's no life stage called baby cat. In fact, there are only 2 life stages for the standards by which all pet food is made. There's only 2, adult and everything else. All the high requirement pregnancy, nursing, growth. Only 2 standards. And all of those, you know, Siamese cat formula and
It's all just
wiener
marketing.
dog formulas, it's all marketing. They're made with the same ingredients, maybe twist a couple of percentages on protein and fat. They're all the same. People don't understand this. So feed your pets a variety of things. Please, people, feed a variety. Different brands, different flavors, different protein sources. It's crucially important to preventing deficiencies and excesses as well.
Joe, we asked you a question, didn't really give you enough time to answer it. And again, we're coming at you with just a few minutes left in the program. But as a pet behavior specialist, how do you see what a pet consumes, a dog consumes especially, affects his or her behavior?
Well, I've seen a lot of situations where clients are looking at me for guidance. They've got a canine situation that they're not sure how to remedy. A lot of this behavior is described as the dog is stupid, or the dog won't listen to me when I'm harping at it, or the dog is oblivious to my instruction and isn't trainable. I'm sure you've heard this too. The dog is not trainable. They want a more attentive dog that's more disciplined and excited about training. And long before oftentimes we can deal with the behavioral side effects, we have to get right down to the problem, which begins with diet. How could you expect a child, for example, to pay attention at school if been giving nothing but ice cream for 30 days before a test?
Right.
The frame of mind is not going to be balanced and calm and ready to receive information. So how can we expect our pets to be attentive and thrive on training when they're irritable and agitated and they feel sick?
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention to the external signs that your animals are communicating with you when they're behaving around you. You have to be really watching, because if you're expecting that ideal trainable behavioral situation at home, diet is almost always overlooked. It's broadly overlooked. People want behavior recommendations. They want YouTube videos that are a minute and a half that tell them how to quick fix
Right.
the attention span of a pet. And so it's really important that you take Dr. Hovey's advice and feed a balanced diet. And if you are going to buy commercial food, if that's the only option you have in life and you absolutely work full time and you have to go that route, then change brands, so that if one particular brand after 30 days becomes deficient, or they've switched their protein resources, or they're getting food from a different vendor now, you can often kind of offset that by switching brands and keep your dog constantly rotating through a variety of foods that way.
Right.
And you told me that the
may
wet
I
is better. The wet food is better.
Especially for cats, no dry food.
Yeah.
No dry food, there's lots of research on that. But quickly, if your animal is eating commercial food, add some fresh food. Add some broccoli to your dog.
supplement
Add
it.
a little raw meat even for your cat. Just even a little bit. even just on Sundays or Saturday night, if that's your inclination, or Friday night for some of my friends. You know, it's gonna, every little bit of fresh, wholesome nutrition doctors say for us, this goes for our pets.
Oh, this flew by.
Where would you recommend people turn for some good basic guidance, you know, information that we can trust about you know, how to feed our pets better?
Right. Well, my website, littlebigcat.com, has a huge section on nutrition. I've published books about both dog and cat nutrition and kind of lifestyle, because it goes beyond nutrition to be truly healthy, right? There, for dog food, if somebody wants to know what are the better brands of dog food, dogfoodadvisor.com is very good. I'm working on a book for dogs. I have an ebook for cats called What Cats Should Eat. Working on what dogs should eat. Don't give up, I'll get it done soon. But you know, there are a lot of us out there that have done the research. I'm a little unique because I'm a veterinarian and I've done the research, and there's very few of us.
Yeah.
But what I learned in vet school was zero, basically. I had to learn it all on my own.
In addition to Dr. Hovey's writings and the research that she's done, people can also check out the book Dead Pets Don't Lie. One of the goals that Donna Howell and I created for ourselves early in the book is that it would read very much to the person at home that doesn't have a lot of academia experience, they don't have a lot of veterinarian experience, and they just want the kind of easy to read, spoon-fed breakdown of where to start, what to look for, what to avoid on labels, what to look for on labels.
And this is the book forthcoming. We are called by the Lord to be good stewards of His creation, and that includes the animals that we have taken into our care. It is our responsibility to do the research and treat them well. That's what the Lord meant when He told Adam and Eve to go forth and take dominion over the birds of the air, the fish in the sea, and the beasts of the field. As part of our report on the genetic Armageddon, how cutting-edge science is transforming our world, I'm Derek Gilbert. We thank you for watching as we keep watch. This is Skywatch TV.